So it has been a few painfully uncomfortable days at Kenya's top court, the Supreme Court, following bribery claims against Justice Philip Tunoi. And as Chief Justice Willy Mutunga prepares for his final lap at the helm of the country's judicial hierarchy, there seems to be a few loose ends at the Supreme Court. On our weekly segment Spotlight 2017, KTN News political editor Ben Kitilli looks at what analysts are calling a perception crisis at the Supreme Court.
A lot is currently happening at Kenya's Supreme Court. The inevitable Chief Justice Willy Mutunga succession battle aside, the future of at least 4 of the 7 Supreme Court judges in the judiciary is far from certain. Yet the country needs to sort that out and have quorum in good time before the 2017 general election. Which way, Supreme Court? The Supreme Court, the highest court in Kenya, is facing arguably its biggest test since its inception with the onset of the new constitutional dispensation. Corruption allegations against one of Kenya's most experienced judges, Justice Philip Tunoi, has opened a can of worms, throwing a spanner in the works in the judiciary, barely 18 months to the 2017 general election.
I've never been close to him. I've never spoken to him.
The Commission will handle this matter with utmost fairness.
Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga's efforts to sanitize the judiciary from within have even received more criticism from senior members of the legal fraternity as well as from the political class.
Umeshindwa kazi, wewe ujiuzulu, alafu tutoe wale wakora wako katika mahakama.
The state of the Supreme Court, which is extremely vital in the country's election cycle, experts say, is far from ideal.
The Supreme Court plays a very cardinal role in determination of electoral petitions, because under the Constitution, of course, judicial authority vests with the Kenyan people, but it is the one which determines any challenge to presidential elections.
Some lawyers even calling for its dissolution.
This is a Chief Justice who, even in the report by the PSC itself, has been accused of financial impropriety. He himself has been accused of drawing salary advances that were unprocedural and against the advice of Treasury. So that if you want to, give an audit of his tenure as Chief Justice, he is one of the worst performing Chief Justices in this country.
So where did it start going wrong for the Supreme Court of Kenya? The 2013 presidential election petition by the Orange Democratic Movement candidate Raila Odinga has been described as a key moment for the court. The opposition criticized the manner in which the Chief Justice delivered the much anticipated ruling. Some lawyers have, however, defended Mutunga's petition landmark ruling.
When there is tension in the country, they may not be able to await the determination, the ruling which says these are the reasons, and give an analysis of all the different things that were considered by the bench. So there was nothing untoward towards, and it's common practice.
Quorum at the Supreme Court is another concern, with the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, Mutunga, set to retire in mid-2016. And the future of the Deputy Chief Justice, Kalpana Rawal, still a matter in courts. 1 vacancy is for sure, and then there are also 2 potential vacancies. And of course, that raises the issue of if we don't have 3 judges, and quorum is supposed to be 5 judges of the Supreme Court, then of course the issue arises that there could be a situation whereby we are saying the court cannot be properly constituted, because under the Constitution, 5 judges of the Supreme Court must be sitting at any one time for it to be properly constituted. If Mutunga retires and Rawal and Tunoi fall by the wayside, that would leave only Jack Tonojambo, Njoki Ndungu, Mohamed Ibrahim and Dr. Smokin Wanjala as the only members of the Supreme Court, consequently leading to a constitutional crisis. To avert that, analysts say the Mutunga succession battle has to be concluded quickly, a matter that has threatened to tear the legal fraternity right down the middle. The key issue has been the president's role in the process of appointing the top judge. Many lawyers have insisted that the president's role should be simply ceremonial in appointing the Chief Justice, and that the mandate rests squarely on the Judicial Service Commission. Others have continued to question the JSC's mandate, character and discretion in the process.
One of the questions which actually we should be asking ourselves is, are there maybe too many lawyers in it? and etc. But those are questions for later. So they are then given the discretion. And that's where the question is coming in terms of what about when we say judicial authority is vested in the people. Now, so these people are given the discretion, and it's up to them to sit down and look at all the applicants.
The goings-on at the Supreme Court have left Kenyans disillusioned at a critical time.
Citizen can contemplate alleging that a judge of this court, perhaps the senior-most judge of this court, if you look at the sheer length of period the individuals have served the judiciary, has received a bribe, is to mean that this court would have reduced itself perceptively into playing in the lowest league ever in the history of in the judicial history. I don't even think so. Either way, the Supreme Court has to retire and soul search.
Are the graft allegations true? If so, should the whole court be disbanded, as some top lawyers are advising?
So we adjourn.
Or is it all politics of the succession battle at the judiciary, and how soon should that be resolved? Even as the Judicial Service Commission's special committee continues its probe into graft allegations against Justice Philip Tunoi, and as the Law Society of Kenya haggles with the executive over the process of appointing the next Chief Justice, analysts agree that the highest court in the land is facing a huge perception crisis and a race against time to put its house in order. Ben Kitilli, KTN News.